Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Nautical Tales and Nature Trails, recreation in southeastern Connecticut and southern Rhode Island. I'm your host, Will Morrissey, and I'll be your compass as we explore the region, finding all kinds of hidden gems for you, attractions for you to enjoy. My wife, Bridget Morrissey, she zips up and down the shoreline from Old Lyme to Charlestown. She zigzags from Mystic to Mashantucket to Uncasville. She's all over all the back roads. She doesn't like driving on 95 much, but she knows where all these little trails are. And so we want to bring them to you. We are having an explosion, a tidal wave of newcomers coming to the area, whether they're building submarines, the brave souls that drive the submarines. We got students coming into UConn at Avery Point, Mitchell College, UConn at Avery Point, I mentioned, Connecticut College, and all those folks at the United States Coast Guard Academy, as well as a lot of visitors that come into the area. Even the locals are amazed at some of the new things that we tell them about, whether it's a golf course or a marina, charter fishing boat, vineyard, library, museum, gallery. There's all kinds of things going on here. And today, we're going to combine a little bit of recreation with education. And today we've got Andrew Ely from Project Oceanology. We affectionately call it Project O around here. But Andrew, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you, Will. Thank you for having me here on the show today.
Oh, it's great to have you. Andrew, you've got a little bit of experience around the water other than Project O. What got you involved with Nautical Tales to begin with?
Well, that's a great question. I grew up in upstate New York, but went off to the University of Rhode Island for college and studied marine affairs back in the late 80s and early 90s. And out of that experience, I wound up in the Coast Guard with a 28-year career focused on search and rescue, fisheries, homeland security, and also education. I taught at the academy for a while, and I was also an instructor at Officer Candidate School. So through those experiences, when I retired, I saw this great chance to go and work at Project O and bring marine science and education together, and my joy working with the public. So this is great. It's nice to be able to continue and do something good for the local area and the community and our students.
Well, I think you brought a little video for folks to see exactly what's going on at Project O, didn't you?
We did. I think that's a great way to start. If we could go ahead and take a look, we'll see a little bit about who we are and what we do and some of the folks that are involved in delivering our amazing programs.
Project Oceanology was started with a consortium of 14 public schools in southeastern Connecticut who are interested in using the ocean as a way of teaching students on the shores of Long Island Sound, and it seemed like an ideal outdoor laboratory for kids.
Project Oceanology spends just all of its time getting kids out of the classroom, out into the environment, experiencing things. That education leaves a lasting impact. It's very memorable.
The instructors here at Project O are enthusiastic and knowledgeable, and they are the ones who make Project O the lively learning experience that it is.
When you go out on the boat and you hear the kids when the animals first come on board and they're working with them, the level of excitement is wonderful. You teach the kids about the environment in the environment. You weren't in the classroom. They're getting wet, they're getting cold, they're handling everything.
Project O is making a difference in our community. What we do is amazing and it's unique. Project O's mission is really to get kids interested and involved in science and our marine environment. And so these youth that we're working with on a daily basis, they're the leaders of tomorrow. They're the community members, they're the decision makers, and they're the stewards of our land. So that's a tall order, but we're up for the challenge here. And that spark you see when kids get out there, out in the field, out on the water, there's nothing like it.
Over the years, I've met a lot of people who have come to Project O, and they remember this is an experience that was really one of the key experiences of their school years, to see the marine life or test the water quality or get the samples of the bottom muds. These are all a chance to really get to have a firsthand experience with Long Island Sound and with science.
The experiences that students and summer campers here have at Project Oceanology, it can change their lives. We've seen people who have come here and found something that they're passionate about, and they take that and they pursue a career, an entire education.
I was always someone that was excited about science, but to really get firsthand experience and get out on boats and understand, okay, we're studying the ocean, what are we actually studying? For me, Project Oceanology was really a great first step in my scientific career. Not only are we building like strong young scientists, but we're also getting students just interested in the climate. The best thing about Project Oceanology is that it brings all different types of ocean sciences together in a really digestible way to students of all ages.
I love the impact that the programs here at Project O have on our participants. I love the fact that we create joy and positive experiences and educational opportunities for people of all ages. For 50 years, Project Oceanology has been educating kids, been teaching them about the marine environment, and we've been doing that with the support of schools who are members and with competitive grant funds and with some donations from generous folks here in the community. To keep doing the work that we're doing, we need support. We need to be able to keep our boats going. We need to be able to keep buying the latest equipment for our classrooms and our labs so that we're relevant and that we're preparing kids for the fields of tomorrow.
Well, hopefully that was a good introduction to a little bit of what Project O is and who we are. We deliver lots of different kinds of programs, and we got some interesting glimpses there into some of those, and we can maybe start by talking a little bit more about the types of programming that we offer.
Yes, you just got through with the camp program, but tell the folks about all the different educational programs you're running for all the schools in the area.
Oh, that's a great question, Will. So we offer educational programming to students. So when we started back in 1972, we were mostly focused on delivering programming to middle and high school students. Today, we deliver educational programs to kindergarten through 12th grade, college level students. We do programs for the public. We help educate and inform local governments who are making decisions about the waterway and how to best protect their waterway as they also develop their towns and their communities. For example, we're working right now with the Wickety-Quat Cove Clean Water Coalition over in Stonington to help them as they're facing some challenges. And that one small body of water that's the only place in eastern Long Island Sound that doesn't receive a passing grade as part of the Unified Water Study conducted by Save the Sound throughout all of Long Island Sound. So that's interesting work. Yeah.
Well, that's something else. I mean, you do how many different schools? I mean,
we literally work with hundreds of schools. We have different types of schools we work with. So the first type of schools we work with are our members. Member schools are public schools that, in exchange for being part of our program, they also give us a member to serve on our board of directors. So our members are actually, for all intents and purposes, our owners, right? They help guide our programming, the types of programming we deliver, how we deliver that, the resources that we use to deliver that programming. And we also work with other public schools that are maybe coming from further away but interested in our programming. They just can't participate to that level. They could be schools from further away in Connecticut, across New England, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We have a 56-bed hostel, which allows us to have groups that are coming from further away come for overnight. We might have a school from New York City come for 3 days worth of programming. Sometimes we do programming and have kids overnight and then send them to another local programming for even more education. We've done that with New England Science and Sailing. We're starting to work with the National Estuarine Research Reserve that was recently established last year. And then we offer, as I said, public cruises. We do seal watches in the early spring and late winter in Fisher's Island Sound. In the summer months, we offer oceanographic cruises so the public can come out and tow a net and see the local marine life and study the water quality and learn a little bit about the science that we're doing here in Long Island Sound.
well, when you were telling us about the classes and everything in the camps, I thought the camp was what we were seeing on the video, but it turns out that that's really part of the classes, isn't it?
It is. So we do both. We do camp programs, and we do 2 types of camps. So we do 8 weeks of camp every year. Simultaneously, we run 8 individual residential camps. They're all 1-week programs. Some are targeted at middle school, some are targeted at high school. Some are more focused on biology, some are more focused maybe on STEM and science. One of them is actually a research camp where the students work in teams and develop and test their own research project to support a hypothesis that they developed at the end of the week. We do those camps for 32 students at a time. We also run day camps, and those day camp programs are focused more on late elementary and early middle school, so 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And they tend to be more exploration camps. Every week has a theme. One week is maybe more art focused. Another week is more about the adaptations that animals have to survive, for example. And one of those weeks we do is a joint camp with the Mystic Aquarium. And this summer we had 460 kids at camp. So we were absolutely sold out. It was a really busy week.
That's amazing. I imagine that with all the kids going out and first time on a boat for a lot of them, but to see what's going on, I imagine they get a surprise every once in a while, a different kind of fish that they weren't expecting. Do you have any little stories you can tell us about some of the fish you weren't expecting to catch?
Sure. So one of the things that we've been catching more and more is seahorses. So seahorses and pufferfish that would be maybe more common a little further south. We're finding more and more of those in the Sound earlier and earlier in the year. This year we also happened to catch during camp a ray. We caught a 200-pound sea ray in our net. That is just
Stonington Middle School would love that.
Yeah.
They're the Stonington Middle School stingrays now.
Yeah, so catching that stingray was really amazing. And it was exciting not just for our campers, but also for our staff. And we released her back into the water. It was a perfectly healthy animal. And we released her back over the side. But seeing things like that, it shows you how the climate is changing. There are less and less lobsters here. Why? Well, there's a bunch of reasons, but probably the most significant reason is the change in water temperature. Project Oceanology has a nearly 50-year citizen science data set. We've been gathering data with students and our staff for our entire existence, and we've digitized that into a database where you can see that over time, the water is warming up. And so that changes the type of species that are here in the water, and we see that directly, and we educate our students about those changes.
Well, it's easy for you to talk about nautical tales in today, but reading a little bit about Project O, nature trails, you do some mapping of the ground under the water and teach the kids how to do that.
We do. We've done some specialized projects in some cases where we focused on, for example, the Thames River watershed and looking at that watershed from many different perspectives. So first of all, physically, what does it look like? What's the salinity of it? What's the oxygen content like? How those things change maybe near the sewage treatment plant down in New London versus further up the river? What kind of nitrogen content or load are we finding in the water? We look at the types of industry that are along that river and how they might be impacting the river. So human use and activity, what do humans do on this river and this waterway? And we look at the history, right? How did we get to where the Thames River is today, right? What's happened over time? And so projects like that are really interesting, and they tend to be a little bit longer. They involve students over a range of time. Another long-range project that we've done is something called the Connecticut River Connections Program. This is a really pretty neat opportunity. We take students from urban schools along the Connecticut River, for example, out of Hartford, and we pair in middle school, and we pair them up with a middle school class from a suburban or rural community somewhere else along the watershed, and we give them 7 experiences throughout the year where we're focused on STEM and marine science, but we're also focused on diversity and equity and inclusion, and how growing up in different communities, how we can all bring value to the world today. We do that work in collaboration with the Connecticut River Museum. We bring kids to each other's schools, we bring them to our facility, and we bring them to actual sites along the river to do this work. And that's really neat to see these sort of longer term engagements. So it's not just kids coming for a week of summer camp or maybe coming for a one-day boat trip, we have kids that we engage with all year long too.
Well, the Connecticut River Museum is in Essex, right?
That's correct.
Now, are you able to dock the boat there so that the folks from Hartford don't have to drive all the way over, and then you don't have to bring the boat all the way to the Connecticut River?
So we bring the boat to the Connecticut River for that time of year, and we work out of their dock. We use both their facility, so they deliver some education for us, and then we go out and we do an eagle watch, and we look for eagles and other birds that nest along that river, which is a great winter activity, right? And in February, it's great to have the kids on the boat, but they really don't want to be putting their hands in the water. It's a little chilly that time of year. So.
Are you part of the group that's counting eagles in February?
We do count data and look at that, and we look at data for other marine animals too. So any animals that we collect at Project Oceanology, they're all local. We don't import anything. We don't bring species from other parts of the country. We focus on local animals, and we do have a seawater lab where we can keep those animals for science, and then when we're done, we release them back. And by science, I just mean education, right? So we use the animals that we catch to educate kids about animals, and then we return them back and take new animals. And we work with DEP to make sure that we're doing all that responsibly.
With the number of students that you have going through, there's probably a few that go on to become marine biologists afterwards.
Well, that's great that you bring that up too. If you look at the video that we saw earlier, you saw an example of one of those in Claire Jasper, right? So Claire is off finishing her PhD at Columbia, and she got her first exposure at Project O. So we have a lot of what we like to call Project O impact stories. Another young man, Rafid Hussein, who was a student at East Lyme High School and came through our programs and our summer camps, wound up working for us and being a resident supervisor and an educator. And then he went down to work for the Ocean Conservancy in Washington, D.C. after college. And now he's back at URI getting a master's in marine affairs. And he's going to keep going on and doing great things. People in education in all sorts of places have been impacted by their experience at Project O, including some of our own current staff. We have 2 members of the staff who absolutely came to Project O as employees because of their own experience there as students, and that says a lot about the type of education we deliver. I think getting to listen to families or parents, I hear these stories all the time. So if I leave work and I go over to Big Y across the street and I have this shirt on, inevitably someone is going to stop me and ask me, do you work at Project O? Mm-hmm. And when I say yes, they always want to tell me about either their experience or their child's experience or their grandchild's experience, or sometimes multiple versions of that. So it's just kind of cool that people want to share their memory of Project O with people from Project O and tell us about how that impacted them.
Well, it's great. I mean, a 50-year history, you've really been able to grow and teach people a little bit marine science. And it's interesting to hear the stories about people that went to camp or just showed up one time and didn't know anything about marine biology or your programs, and then to keep on going and contribute back to society that way. I mean, that's special.
Yeah, we're really proud of the work that we do in schools and the work that we do with teachers. We tailor all the programming that we deliver to each teachers' needs. So everything that we deliver for school is aligned with the next generation science standards and Connecticut teaching requirements. But if, let's say, a certain teacher is working on marine birds, or they want to look at a specific aspect of like a lobster life cycle or something, we will take a program that we have on the shelf, so to speak, and tailor what we're doing to them. And the experience that kids get at Project O in school is supported by both pre and post activities that we've developed that are given to teachers who are in these programs, so that the learning is tied into school, right? So it's taking that hands-on experience and not only having it be memorable, but making it meaningful and part of education. And I think that's really the success to what we do is how we work with schools in that way.
Well, you mentioned meaningful, and you mentioned the Connecticut River Museum before, and all the high schools and schools and colleges that you work with, but you have other collaborations going on with entities other than within the state. You get federal, don't you?
We have different projects we do, and maybe I think we have a couple of photos. I don't know if we can take a look at those, if that's possible.
That might be coming up here.
Okay, so we'll just look at these pictures quick, and then we can talk a little bit. So here's a big part of our team right here. and it takes a lot of folks to deliver that programming at Project O.
Only one has to wear a tie.
Yeah. Yes, the folks that work on the boats definitely do not wear ties. They're getting dirty and wet and having a good time doing it. Yep. You can actually see here some of our students bringing in the otter trawl. That's a net that we tow behind the boat. And notice that all the kids are pulling that net in by hand. So, this is a team building activity and it's a group activity and it requires everyone to be involved. So we're not using mechanical winches or letting machines do the work. The kids are doing part of the work, and that's part of the fun of Project O too, is getting the kids involved in the whole process of the gathering of the species in this case. Here you can see some results of some of the work we're doing that is not education, but that we use for education. We gather abandoned lobster traps, so this is ghost fishing gear out of Long Island Sound. We're part of a consortium with Save the Sound and the Maritime Aquarium, and over in New York, the Cornell Cooperative Extension. And we are going out, working with lobstermen, pulling this gear out of the water, identifying it, cataloging it, making sure the owners don't want it back, and then properly disposing of it. And so this is really a team effort. It's a Long Island Sound-wide effort, and we're going to be doing this work for the next several years. So this is an interesting study. Here you can see a couple members of our team conducting some marine science just after sunrise. This is part of the Unified Water Study. So we are monitoring the health and quality of the water in 2 locations. The first one is right outside of our facility in the Pequannock River. We have 5 different sites we monitor. And then a little bit further down the shore, we're in Mumford Cove doing the same work. And there are 24 other groups doing the same scientific work. And this comes through federal grant funds and work with Save the Sound. And we use this scientific equipment to monitor all sorts of aspects of that water quality at sunrise every other week. And we report that data in a national database. And then a report card for the health of Long Island Sound is put out. I talked about that earlier about Wickety-Quack Cove. In eastern Long Island Sound, the good news is our waters are very healthy, receiving a grade of A- or better, except for that cove, which has received grades like a D-, C+. And so we're looking at that and what's contributing to that and how can we change that. So again, here's some of the science we do. And this is actually over in Mumford Cove. This is a great picture. This shows you eelgrass, and you can see how dense that eelgrass bed is. Years ago, sewage was dumped into Mumford Cove, and you would have found no eelgrass there. After some work to divert that sewage and put it through a proper treatment plant, you can see that the eelgrass is thriving, and with that, spawning fish and other animals that use this bed as a spawning ground. It's really brought the health of the cove back.
Well, I can remember 50 years ago working at Ammonasset Beach State Park as a lifeguard. And if you were in chest deep water, it was hard to see your feet. And now it's totally different. It's kudos to DEP for the work they've been doing in outfits like yours. To have clean water, it's amazing the difference. And I had a question though about, you mentioned the people coming back. Are you looking for any volunteers to help out in any way?
We are, actually. We have just started a volunteer program at Project Oceanology. We made an announcement late this summer, and we are interested in having volunteers to support us in our education program delivery, in our outreach to communities, in our engagement in different coalitions and groups that we're working with. This is a community, this is a team effort, right? Project Oceanology is a 501c3 nonprofit, can't do it alone. We have a staff of 13 full-time employees and a few part-time employees, and we are educating about 25,000 students a year. That is an incredible effort. It takes a lot of time, and to keep doing this work, it'd be great if we could have some volunteer support to help out, so we're excited about that.
Well, I think you got into the book with Project O because of having a booth over at the Earth Day celebration at Groton Public Library. I was going around and, oh, okay, yeah, Project O, I forgot all about you, and because I don't get down, into the campus at UConn very much, but I've been down there since, and you've got quite the facility. But it must have been a volunteer just for that, and maybe you have other volunteer opportunities.
We do, and folks could certainly reach out to us at www.oceanology.org, or our number, which will be up on the screen. Actually, there it is right there. You could reach out and find ways to support us, right? So
now, other than helping out at community expos like that, what other kind of volunteer work are you looking for?
So, as you can imagine, to deliver education to that many students, our education team has an immense amount of equipment and preparation, even support or help in the classroom. If someone likes working with kids and has that ability, we do things in labs. We sometimes do things on the shoreline where extra hands could be helpful. But going from group to group to group all day long, we have a lot of things that have to be ready to deliver that education well. So having a team help with that, having a team that can help with all of the outreach and organization for camp, helping build our donor base, helping us with our community engagement, making sure that we have what we need to keep doing what we're doing today.
Oh, that's great. Well, this has been, quite the show. I'm thrilled that you were here to tell us all about Project O, and looking forward to seeing what happens in the future. I know you've got a lot of, like I said before, collaboration going on with different entities, and it's just getting better and bigger all the time. And why don't you? I'm going to just let folks know that we're thrilled to be bringing you these little gems, these different things that are happening in the area that you might not know about. Bridget, like I said, she's up and down the shoreline and go inland all the time, and she runs across these things, and so we're glad to bring them to all the folks that are moving into the area. And so that's Nautical Tales and Nature Trails. I'm Will Morrissey. I'm going to let Andrew take us out and let you know what you can do to help out Project O. Andrew?
All right. Well, thank you very much for that opportunity. Thank you for having us here on the show today. We are so excited to be able to be a part of the community and to be here, as we have been since the 1970s, doing things for students of all ages. We appreciate engagement from the community. We appreciate students coming to our programs. If you're interested in our summer camps or other things, please reach out to us. And we can always use support, again, through volunteers or through generous donations. As a nonprofit, we depend on community support. We have no direct federal or state funding, and we work hard to keep doing what we're doing for you and others in the community every day. So it's been a real joy to be here, and it's a joy to be at Project O, working with so many great people to deliver this amazing programming. Thank you.